Hi, welcome again to my gardening channel. My name is Dave Perling. If you like what you see here, please like it and subscribe, and we'd also love to hear your comments. Today's project is going to be another succulent bowl. We've done them before, you can see our earlier videos. But today's, we're going to use one of these kind of unique grafted cactus. I call it a fan cactus. And we're going to surround it with some of these smaller ones, and I'll show you a close-up of that in just a moment. Today's creation is going to center on this, as we showed you a moment ago, this grafted cactus. This top has been grafted onto the stem, and we think it kind of has a very unique look to it. And today's theme is a lot of red. This one grafted cactus we found in the store, in a big box store, had a nice reddish fringe around it, so we're going to stick with that. And to that we're going to add this little cactus, succulent I should say, around it. And also one of these are called, I don't know, a cosmic cactus. It's kind of these are artificially colored at the grower, but we thought it will add some nice red to our planter. And then another, perhaps a little echeveria, small echeveria, can you see? Echeveria succulent in there too. And a smaller, this is like a 3-in-1 pot type of thing, we'll put that in. And then we love this reddish tinged, I call them flapjacks. Makes a nice look as a reddish tinge. So this is going to be like, call this my red period, okay? And we'll plant this up, show you how to. Also, we're not going to plant this bowl as tightly and as packed as we've done some of our others. They tend to grow fast and fill in real fast and almost look crowded. We'll show you some of the other ones right nearby me here in a moment, and you can let us know what you think. This is a window box planter that we did a year and a half ago, and see how packed in it is? The plants have grown in. There was a lot of open space between when we planted, but these things have filled in really, really nicely. And see how they're spilling over the side over here? We love the look of this, and it's easy to do. Well, you'll see how we plant it up in a moment. Look at the wonderful flower stalk on this, perhaps it's an echeveria coming up like that. And we get this continually. The stalks come up, they fade, new ones come up. We've even had hummingbirds feeding on these individual flowers. It's quite the thing to see, and we'll show you more some of our other planters here in a second. Here are two more bowls that we did in the last year and a half or so, and you can see how nicely they filled in. And a little, decorative element like a little gnome right there, and you can add cactus, you can add succulents. In the one over here, we put some red flowering kalanchoys in for that kind of color. There's a barrel cactus back there, and this plant right here is an agave blue glow. It has a very wonderful feature. I'll show you a close-up of that in a moment. The agave blue glow has these leaf margins around every leaf that will glow red, almost like neon red, when the sun is low and the sun comes in at a low angle behind the plant. It is very special to see. So if you can get one of these plants, agave blue glow, put it in a place where you can get some low morning or some low angle afternoon sun, and you'll see that light up. It'll just knock you down, knock you out, I think. It's really, really fun to see. We have showed you this one before, our cactus and succulent terrarium inside of a jar like this. If you want to make somebody really happy, create one of these and give it to a friend or a loved one, and they will just be very, very happy to receive it. This has 3 or 4 little cactus plants in it. Everything had to go in through the opening on this jar, and that's kind of tricky. I'll do a video about that soon and show you how that's done. But look how this cactus in the center has grown up to, it's above the opening of the jar now. When it was planted, it was probably 2 inches below the top of the opening. That was about a year ago. And there's companion plants are also growing like crazy. This one on the far left is going to be overgrown, and we'll have to do something with that probably in a future moment. But how do you like that? How do you like how that looks? Please let me know in the comments. And here is a closer in look at it. As I said a moment ago, these are a little more tricky to create because everything has to go in through that opening there in the top of the jar, and you have to be careful that you only water it with distilled water. That's easy to do, but you just have to have distilled water. But ours, as you can see, is really thriving after about a year. And let's get on to today's project now. Let's go over the supplies we're going to use today, and the plants and soil and so forth, and other tools we're going to need. Of course, we have this 13-inch terracotta bowl. Easy to find, not very expensive. It'll hold all the plants we want to put in here really nicely. We also have a couple of small bags of cactus and potting mix. We don't normally endorse brands, but here you see it. It's available everywhere. And these are the small bags, easy to carry. And we'll use at least one, maybe part of both of them, we'll see. And then, of course, we have the 6 plants you saw earlier. We'll plant them in the bowl. We also are going to use a folded up paper towel square to put in the bottom of the bowl to act as a filter, so that because there is a drainage hole. We don't want any soil leaking out through that hole as we're watering, which won't be very often, but we will have to water from time to time, and we don't want that to leak out, or the soil to leak out the bottom. We also have, you'll see why in a moment, a hammer, and safety goggles. You'll see why again in a moment. And also some pruners, a couple different pruners I have that we use often, here, and a pocket knife to cut open the bags. We might not need the pruners. We won't need them on the plants for sure, but maybe some of the roots will need to be pruned off once we get them out of the pots. Here again are the supplies from left to right. A couple of small bags of cactus mix. Gloves. When you're handling cactus, there are spines, and you want to be wearing gloves. A couple of different sizes of pruners here, and some small ones. A pocket knife, and a hammer, and some safety goggles. Why the hammer and the safety goggles? Well, we found when we had 2 of these grafted cactus last year, and when we purchased them, we did not know that the pot it comes in, which is a pot, this is one of the pots, did not have a drainage hole, and not realizing that we would water from time to time, it basically drowned the plants, and the roots just rotted away. The plants just fell over. So we lost those, had to get rid of them. So this time, we're going to take the plant out of this pot and plant it in the soil here directly without using this pot with no drainage, to avoid that problem. But we found that before we knew our plants were lost, we tried to get them out of their existing pots that look just like this, and they didn't want to pop out too easy. So I actually broke the pots with the hammer to crack them apart and get them apart that way. So that's what we're going to do right now. Keep in mind, this is very important again, that if you have one of these at home and intend to leave it in this pot, there is no drainage hole if you find the same one we did in the store. So, but we're going to just eliminate this pot and plant it directly in the soil in our bowl over there. So how we're going to do that for safety is we're going to wrap the existing pot in some inexpensive, these are actually painter's towels that we got for free from the same store, from the paint department of the same store we got this plant at. Get rid of the tag here, put that over to the side. And I'm going to cover that with a couple of pieces of painter's towel to catch any glass chips that want to go flying away when I hit it with a hammer. I'm going to put my gloves on. Next, I'm going to put my gloves on to prevent cuts. And then lower the safety goggles. Safety goggles are very important anytime you're chipping anything or working with glass or even stone and block. If you're chipping or breaking, have safety goggles. It only takes one time for that to pay off, and you'll be very happy. So we got the glass pot here in this tray to catch the glass, wrapped in towels, and now we're going to tap it with a hammer to get the glass pot off it. I think we did it. The plant has come out quite nicely. we're going to discard the pot and the stones that came in and just plant in our bowl over there in a moment. And so here it is, the grafted cactus now laying on its side, just a very small root ball left over. That'll be enough. Remember, cactus don't need much root ball to transplant successfully. We're going to discard the rest of this and plant just the root ball and the grafted cactus in our terracotta bowl. Now we are ready to plant. Here's the bowl, 13-inch bowl, a couple of small bags of cactus mix, and our four smaller plants here, one over here, and then our grafted cactus right here. That'll be the centerpiece. Here is the folded up paper towel we mentioned a moment ago. Fold it up, and we're going to put it over the drainage hole in the bottom of the pot here. Can you see that? We want to get that covered with this to act as a filter to keep the soil from draining out when we water. Put that in the bottom, and then we've already cut open one of these bags of cactus mix. We're going to pour in a little bit. This cactus mix is different than normal potting soil in that it has more sand in it for better drainage, because that's what cactus and succulents do. They don't like to have wet feet, as we found with this grafted cactus. It had wet feet, and we had it in our own garden in its original pot with no drainage, and we think that's what did it in. Add some soil, like so. That's got to be enough for now. Maybe too much. We want to take some back out. We'll have to see. And we're going to pat that down in there. You want to go around the edges, pack like so with your fingers. Not too tight, but just tight enough. We have firmly packed our soil across the entire bowl. Now again, it's important to go around the edges, because that's what usually wants to settle more than in the center. But also make sure you pad down the center too. I just use my bare hands for this, and it's quite easy to do. This soil is not really that dirty, and don't ever call this kind of soil dirt. When I was in college in horticulture classes, if you ever said the word dirt, you might have failed the class. It's soil. They would say dirt is something you sweep out the floor or wash out of your jeans. They don't plant plants in it. So just remember that. It's soil, not dirt, okay? So we're going to start with the grafted cactus. Let's create a little opening for it here. We're going to offset it toward the back, just a little bit, and plant it like so. I'm going to pile a little soil around it to keep it from falling over. And we may have to put a temporary stake in there, like a piece of wood shim or something, to keep it from flopping over. You might want to do that. And I'm going to raise it up a little bit more. I'm going to put some more soil around it. And then make sure that it stands up on its own. Pack the soil. Pack the soil real good. Now we have the soil in the bowl to the level we want it, just about half an inch or so below the top. And we kind of roughed in the plants where we'd like to plant them. And next we're going to plant them and get this project ready to go. All of these little succulents are popping out of their pots real easy. This one here comes in a white kind of a ceramic pot, and inside of that is a black plastic pot, as you can see here. And as you can see, it's just going to pop out real easy. There's no really sharp spines in here, so I'm not even wearing any gloves. Put it over, we spotted it in over here before. We're going to put it right there at the final location. Scrape some of the soil back with our bare hands. A little bit more. And pop her in, just like that. We kind of disturbed our grafted cactus a little bit. We'll straighten it up. Pack down more around that. And there you have it. That first succulent is now planted. We're going to aim it a little bit, lean it a little bit to the outside of the bowl so it can grow in that direction and not fill in toward the center as much. And then we'll do our flapjacks next. Right, the flapjacks is this one. We're going to plant it right here. You see it pops out of its grower pot real easy. Scrape a little bit, make a little hole with our fingers, and drop her in. It's that easy. We only have 3 more to go. Take the next little echeveria plant here. Can you see that? Pop it out of its grower pot, like that. Create a little hole for it in the soil. There you go. And now we just have 2 more to go. And we're going to lean it toward the outside of this container. Let it grow in that direction. Better when it spreads, it'll spread more to the outside. Hang over the edge a little easier, okay? And then we're going to take, again, this little cosmic cactus, they call it, comes. We did end up opening the second bag of cactus mix with our pocket knife because we needed it. And as you can see, this guy's kind of shaky. We're going to have to support him. But we ended up using about a tiny part of the second bag. We needed it, so we're glad we had it. You know, it's always better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? We've all heard that. And it's a good idea when you're doing gardening and other projects around the house. Because our grafted cactus is a little bit top heavy here and might tend to want to flop over because it doesn't have much root ball right now. Cactus often can be very successfully transplanted with little or no root ball, just like palm trees can. And we're relying on this one to do the same. What we're going to do, we're going to use the little stake that came in the grower pot with it, with the tag on it. We're going to repurpose this little stake. We're going to put it behind our grafted cactus. And then we're going to wrap it with some horticultural tape like this. This is available at any garden center. It's very thin plastic green tape, green for, you know, for matching. And we're just going to wrap that around. I think I'm going to get rid of this tag for at least temporarily. Okay, get rid of that. And then we're going to put the stake in the ground, stake in the soil firmly. And then we're going to just tie that on there with our green tape. And we think, at least, that'll keep it from flopping over. That's what we're counting on. Tie that a little bit, and maybe knot it, just lightly knot it. If we need to do something more substantial than that little flimsy plastic stick, we can put a wood shim back there. Maybe split a wood shim down the middle, down along its length, and use that. But right now we're going to keep it like this. Let's straighten that guy back up a little bit, pack him down, and there you have it. Here it is, the finished bowl. We have our centerpiece of our grafted cactus and the 5 smaller ones around it, and we are confident they will fill in and fill this bowl up in a year or so, maybe a little bit longer, but these things do grow surprisingly fast. And we stayed with the red theme this time. We got a kind of a reddish bowl and the red fringe on the grafted cactus, and all the succulents and other plants are definitely red. This cosmic cactus is artificially colored at the grower, and it'll eventually grow out and turn green probably. For now, it matches in there really good. We've also taken our fingers and we've smoothed out the soil. And all we got to do now is water a little bit, and we'll be done. Here is a closer in shot of the finished bowl. Again, our grafted cactus, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little succulents around it. We hope you like how that looks. And we're going to water it next. I'll show you all about that. It's really easy to do, and it doesn't take much. In our 2-gallon watering can back there is just a little bit of tap water, and we're not going to. These things don't need very much water at all. You might be able to go several months between watering, especially if your container doesn't get full day sun. Mine do get a lot of sun, so I water them. I check them once a week anyway. If the soil feels real dry, I do water them. We're going to take our watering can here and just pour out a little bit of water on it. And that also helps to wash off some of the soil off the plants and off of the rim of the pot too. There you go, see that? And we're just going to go around And again, kind of just rinse off the rim of the pot, the container that is, and that's pretty much it for this project. Hope you like that. My garden plants that are not succulents or cactus, we do water with an automatic drip irrigation system. It's really easy to do, really easy to install. You put in these little tubes, and it's all controlled by a battery-operated $30 timer, and it's automatic 7 per depth. But we don't dare water our succulents and cactus with that because they would get too wet and the roots might rot out. Our terrarium bowl jar, we only water that with distilled water. We put some in a misting bottle. Sometimes we mist it, sometimes we pour a little bit directly in, but only use distilled water, because if you use tap water, the minerals might collect on the inside of the glass, and once it does, you'll never get that off. So distilled water is just fine for this, and that's what we use. This bowl on our front porch has sun patience in it. It also is watered via an automatic drip system. If you're not familiar with drip irrigation, it is really easy to do. There's no wrenches, no pliers, no gluing. It's all done by slipping these parts together like Tinker toys, if you remember that from when you were a kid. And it goes that easy. You can add and subtract to it very easily, and doesn't cost hardly anything. So give that a try, because this bowl is getting watered the last week or so on that. It's doing very well. Thank you for coming by again today. We're all done. Here is our today's project, the succulent bowl with the taller grafted cactus and the 5 little ones around it. And here again is another view of our terrarium bowl. And stay tuned for a video on how to do this, and I'll show you all about that. But again, thanks for coming by. My name is David Perling, or Dave Perling. This is my gardening channel. We really appreciate your likes, your subscriptions, and your comments. So please like, please subscribe, and any comments you have, and stay tuned, because we'll be posting more information real soon. Thank you now. Now that we've had this bowl for a couple of days, we decided to rearrange the plants a little bit in there. We thought that perhaps they were looking too much like numbers on a clock dial, so we moved them around a little bit. We moved this one a little bit further to the back and behind the grafted cactus, and then we moved this little echeveria out more toward the edge of the bowl, and then we wanted to give the flapjacks more room. Those things tend to spread pretty wide. You saw in our other bowls how the plants have really filled in, grown, and in some cases getting close to being overgrown. But that's okay. We like that packed in look with succulents. And these things are extremely easy to care for. They need very little water, only a dilute solution of fertilizer a couple times a year at most. And other than that, you can pretty much set them and forget them. And that's why we like these plants. Try it yourself and let us know in the comments how you did. Thank you.